Hey guys, thanks for tuning in while we break down the third part of our Justin Posey's Beyond the Map's Edge review. I can't wait to dive in. There's so much to unpack in here. And I was just laughing with Jim about how we thought we were going to break this whole book into 3 sections. I'm Emma.
I'm Jim, and we are Treasure Hunt with those. That's right. We thought we were going to get a lot farther for each of these chapters, but there's just so much good stuff.
75 pages. Oh, let's just do it.
Yeah, we're going to break it up into 70s, 3 parts. We'll do a 3-part episode. We're on page 28. So, here we go. That's because there's so much in here. But before we get started, though, as a thank you for 1,000 subscribers, our very next video that we're going to drop either Thursday or Friday, depends. I'm going to watch the NFL draft. Emma's going to be, what else? Boots on the ground again. So she's going to be going to her area. And so we are going to give away a book, one of each, a JCB book, just in case you don't have one, and a Beyond the Map's Edge.
Behind me. Are they here? They're here.
Yeah, they're there. They're there. We're going to give one away each. Next episode, we'll kind of explain everything in our next episode when we do our next episode, which is going to be probably on page 30. Who knows how far we're going to get? Who knows how far we're going to get?
So quickly through this book, we're just taking it down.
We're having fun. That's all that matters. And then guess what? We are going to practice going live next week, probably, most likely. We're not guaranteeing anything to practice, right? And so it's going to probably be bad. We don't really know how it works. We don't know how it is when you have the control. We don't know. We're going to bring in someone to moderate. They don't really know how to moderate. We don't even know how to set them up as moderators. So it's going to be a practice. So guess what? Because it's going to probably not be very good, we're going to give away another book.
But we are going to talk about a breakdown of wherever we are in the chapter at that point, or the stories at that point, because the goal is we've had a lot of requests for live. We've had some technical difficulties. We don't want to set anybody up for failure, but we're going to do our best to go through what we see here, because we really do deep dive into each of these stories to try to find, is this chapter a clue or is this chapter a story? Because Justin told us that's what he did. When we go live, we'll be breaking down some sections, and it'll be interactive. You'll be able to tell us what you're thinking, what we're thinking. We'll all work through it together. It's like a big study hall, only nobody's getting a grade.
Yeah, thank goodness. So it should be fun. It's a learning curve for us. So that's why when we do that next week, most likely next week, apologize. We're waiting on YouTube to finish up their stupid things. It's taking weeks. And when they do that, we're going to do it. And we're going to give away a book, 2 books this next episode, and then 2 books next week when we practice our live.
One JCB, one Justin Posey. And I want to make sure, I mean, we're going out to one of our locations out in Montana, but we are hunting with somebody else who's also part of that hunt with us. And so it's not just us, it's them too. We are treasure hunt with us. We're really excited about that. And I'm really excited to get boots on the ground again. My understanding is that the snow is going to hold off. It was supposed to snow when I looked at it this morning. It was saying that it was going to snow on Sunday morning. Now it's back to rain. I almost wonder if I'm really going to North Carolina, because that's how it works here. They're like, oh, it's going to be sunny. Oh, wait, hold on. It's going to have a rain. Oh, thunderstorm. Nope, hail. Nope. Okay, sun all day. It just can't make up its mind what it's doing. So Montana.
It's like the weather is not an exact science. What? It could snow when you go out there. So good times, got a lot of stuff going on. Let's dive in. People want this.
You know how we start this game? Well, Section 3 of the Justin Posey. We're going to read the poem.
And what? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we have to do that first.
Read the poem. What were you? Were you trying to scrimp on the thing that we know?
I was really, really excited to have you read the title of the next chapter we're going over.
It's your turn to read the chapter or story.
No, come on. What's the name of it?
Okay, so let's start with the poem.
All right, let's do it.
Can you find what lives in time, flowing through each measured rhyme? Wisdom waits in shadowed sight for those who read these words just right. As hope surges clear and bright, walk near water's silent flight. Round the bend, past the hole, I wait for you to cast your pole. In Ursa East, his realm awaits. His bride stands guard at ancient gates. Her foot of 3 at 20 degree, return her face to find the place. Double arcs on granite bold, where secrets of the past still hold. Beyond the reach, of time's swift race, wonder guard this sacred space. Truth rests not in clever minds, not in tangled, twisted finds. Like a river's steady flow, what you seek, you already know. This gets better every time we read it.
All right, before I turn this off really quick too, like, comment, and subscribe. You can also email us at comments@treasurehuntwithus.com.
Right. I really love reading those. Those are really good.
Yes. All right, and it's gone.
Go. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I only leave it up there so that I don't forget. What is the name of this chapter?
it is the Conquistador's conquest. He's making fun of me because when we were on a JCB hunt, there's probably about 7 bloopers of me saying Conquistador, Ferdinand, Fernando. I messed it up so many times, and finally Scott goes, I kept saying Ferdinand, and he goes, it's Hernan. And I'm like, what? And I might have dropped an expletive. So it turns out it looks easy what we do. It really does look very, very easy. And I'm going to tell
It
you.
does? I would look at us and say, oh, anybody can do
It
this.
looks professional. I see how it's easy. But I will tell you, there's a lot of times when there's like 7 to 20 takes.
Conquistador.
Yeah, and to make matters worse, Scott teaches history. So he's always like, you got to throw this fact in there. This is going to whack.
I know. He's like our brother James. He's like, actually, scientifically speaking, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
blah.
yeah. So when they're like, you got to make sure you get this piece exactly right. And I'm just trying to be like, hi, I'm Emma. I'm here to talk to you about this big, massive rock behind me and rattlesnakes. Yes. And then, like, also, don't forget in 1813 when the paralegal of the departing residents, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can always tell when I'm struggling, and it means that there's a fact I'm trying to remember. And I'm not built for that, friends. I'm just not built for that. That said, I know how important some of that stuff is. And the reality is, now that we're at like the last episode or the last one we did on that short about Beaverhead, like, I mean, come on, 1803. Now I know Lewis and Clark, but I'm not being filmed. So
I love 1803 because if 1803 was on a clock, it would be what? It's actually 1804 and 1805 when Lewis and Clark were out there. And I believe when he moves the clock, yeah, it is 1804 and 1805. Look it up.
I will gladly look it up, but I'm going to tell you, I saw
it up. Look it up. I'm going to look it up right now.
Saw a lot of signs out there who said 1803.
Lewis and Clark in Montana.
Right.
Chilling. May 1804 to 1806. Actually, they were out there for, but not 1803. May 1804.
There's at least 2 signs that said 1803. I will be there this weekend. I'm glad to take a picture of it.
Put in the comments how wrong Emma is.
Hey, and also when you're there, it's more than just this video. Feel free to list all the times I've been wrong in all the videos. I'm sure there's many that you found.
Anyways, if you look at the clock in the video of Golden Greed, 1804, 1805, 1806 is really 605, 604 on the clock. And he moves it. That's
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all.
I don't hate anything. Well, I hate some stuff, but you know, it's funny. Actually, I'm going to bring this up, and it probably has nothing to do with anything. The very first start of this, it says, I gorged on random facts and ill-advised pursuits. And I never really wrote that down, but then I watched this movie on Apple TV called The Gorge, which is basically sitting in between 2 basically canyons. You know, it's the gorge in between them and stuff like that. And I think about the gates and how we've been looking at the gates and all the gates of the mountains that are on each side. Thought that was interesting only because I saw the movie. So not probably has nothing to do with anything, but it did make me look twice because I went back. All right.
I actually think in that first couple paragraphs where he's like, he liked that he likes to understand the mechanics of everything. I'm like that's such a boy mentality. I mean, I have 2 boys and I have 2 girls, but with my boys, there was such a need to take everything apart. Like, just I don't understand why boys do that, but like that Justin was like that. That's not shocking to me, right? That said, you know, this chapter held a lot of interesting stuff. There's one thing though made me miss Grandma. It was when she said, "Boredom is a fallacy. There are only boring people." And like Grandma used to say that all the time when we were little.
Yeah, there's no such thing as being bored. There's only boring people or something like that.
Right. Exactly.
I noticed this picture, right? It's of Mac, him, and Brandon along the Oregon coast.
Right.
One of his most treasured memories. So it's a picture. It's not even in the story. Why is that in here? It's like, why is that picture?
This chapter is in Arizona. It's in Oro Valley, Arizona.
Right. And that's kind of my point, is it has nothing to do with Oregon. So he's just like, oh, I want to throw this picture in. It's his most treasured memories, one of his most treasured memories. And he puts that in there for the Oregon people out there. Hey, that seems pretty cluish to me to point towards Oregon for some weird reason from Arizona. So he is in Oro Valley, Arizona, by the way.
That's what I said, Oro Valley.
Yeah. Did you know that it whispered gold?
I did. I wrote that down. So it must be true. Oh. I also liked what he said in this, that he was channeling Indiana Jones.
Yes. I liked that he talked about what?
This is the most important chapter because Uncle Hiram's mentioned.
Uncle Hiram is mentioned. That's right. And that was at the very beginning. We were like, who is featured in this song on Golden Greed? But Hiram, who is that? And then, of course, when you get the book,
are they related? And then I'm doing like a deep dive search to figure it out. And we're like, it's got to be like his uncle because it's too young or too old to be his brother.
Yeah. And then you get the book and he starts talking about Hiram and you're like, whoa, his Uncle Hiram performed on a song on Gold and Greed. So,
and I love that Uncle Hiram was one of the people that inspired him to start treasure hunting. And he got him a book about Spanish symbols of the Conquistador cipher. And so that's kind of like when you're laying the foundation of like what got him moving. And oh my gosh, I can't believe I can't remember this. There's a book where when in Golden Greed, where Uncle Hiram is featured, there's a section where Justin is opening birthday presents. And it's like the secrets to the Conquistador's gold or something like that. It's one of the books. He goes, do you know what this is? He goes, I don't have a clue. With his grandpa says to him, I don't have a clue. And it's like the Conquistador cipher or something like that. The search for something's gold or Conquistador's gold. But that was for me like a big deal at the time. And now I've kind of moved away from that. But I thought it was interesting. He goes, do you know what this is? I don't have a clue. I thought that was just interesting.
I did actually. So yeah, but you got that book. It was about Spanish symbols used by the conquistadors. And they're talking about how the Spaniards had transformed the landscapes with an elaborate conquistadorial Morse code, which he made that word up. But it's not. Apparently, that's a word. Conquistadorial Morse code. It's a roadmap for the chronically optimistic. That's interesting because you talk about a cipher. He talks about this basically being a way to do a code, the way to do the transform landscape to kind of tell you where a treasure is. That's probably got to affect him in thinking about this treasure, right?
Isn't that the perk of the book? And it's what got him ignited into it. So I thought that was pretty cool too.
Definitely.
I also thought it was really interesting the use of the word saguaro cactus over and over and over again. I'm like, why does he keep saying this?
I thought for sure you were going to go to talk about the farts. I thought for sure I don't know why, but I thought for sure the next thing he would have said was talking about how he recorded the farts.
Listen, everybody needed an uncle that would record the farts for you. And they each got that for Christmas. I felt
That's
like
brother Jay.
As a 12-year-old or 14-year-old boy, that was probably the best Christmas present they got that year.
That is true.
But I think it is all, like you said, it's all the roadmap for the chronically optimistic.
Yeah, I think that is like one of the most interesting clues about this chapter. And really in the book, it's really important, I think, because he may be using the landscape to direct you. That's what this chapter basically says. He also says the time, that mischievous devil that plays peculiar games when you are absorbed in decoding the secret sephomore of desert plants. What? Now, usually when I try to decode my secret sephomores of desert plants, the devil's not playing mischievous games. What about you?
I think the devil's always playing mischievous games.
That's true, actually.
Always.
I thought that was a very interesting line, though, to you.
Right. Well, and I do think
about decoding and stuff. So if there's a cipher, what I'm trying to say is if there's a cipher, it could be this game. This chapter is just talking about cipher. So I know people are trying to find which one has a cipher in it.
Right.
It may be this chapter.
This is the cipher.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
This is the chapter that most discussed ciphers. So I couldn't agree with you more. There's another thing too that I thought was kind of interesting because I'm a big fan of reading between the lines. I think it's interesting the way he talks about how they lost track of time and they got so far away from it and they had to run back to the house and their mom was going to be so mad. Something about the way he just keeps talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. I feel like he keeps saying, don't get too far away from it. Like, don't forget that this is no more than a mile from where your car is. And he's just subtly hinting to you to remember to not get 4 miles away or 4 hours away because it's not going to be there. And it's like he's reminding us how to hunt and reminding us to put restrictions on how we hunt, right?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. So I thought it was also interesting, though, in this chapter, he says the sun had painted the sky in apocalyptic shades, right? So you talk about shadows and things like
Right.
that. You talk about the sun. The sun could have to do with some of this 3 and 20 stuff, and shadows can have something to do with that. I thought that was really interesting. Um, and then of course at the end, he thanks his uncle for giving him a book on conquistador ciphers.
Wait, there's one
Yeah,
more thing in this. There's one more thing in
yeah.
this.
What else?
When, again, because I think he's trying to teach us and tell us and like mold us into being great treasure hunters.
Yeah,
There's a moment when he says, as the sun, with his sand saturated brain, are we going in the right direction? So it's another warning. Don't be out there at night in places you're not sure where you are, right? And I just thought that was powerful and huge. And it just felt like subtext, right? It was subtext saying to you, don't go too far from your car. Don't be out there at night. Know where you are.
I agree. It's a really good chapter. I would definitely read it. Go deep into
Yeah.
it. I
And to
think.
me, this chapter is two things: a cipher and a warning.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
100% agree on that.
The bait bonanza. So I
Yeah.
love in this chapter that right out of the gate, he starts talking about the North Star and
Yes.
how Huron Lake is their North Star. And so, for all those people who are like, New Mexico, New Mexico, New Mexico, this is why it has to be New Mexico, I get it. I really do. That line drives you there. If you believe Ursa East is the sign that you're looking for the North Star, and then you read something like our North Star was Huron Lake, how do you not go to New Mexico?
Yeah. And he only uses the word North Star 4 times in this book. So I'm not going to remember it. I know it's the dedication, it's the beta bonanza, it's the sleep study, and there's one more, which I'm not going to remember.
Probably the poem. Oh, it's not the poem because the poem is the
Yep.
Ursa.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely one more time that he says the word North. I think it might be Fitzwater, actually. If I go back to Fitzwater, I'm pretty sure. Yep, it is Fitzwater. He says each one of us as the true North Star and twice as bright.
Right.
So those are the 4 times he uses the word North Star. And
Right.
Heron Lake, that's when they migrated for the summers. That was their North Star. So that was pretty
Right.
cool. I know a lot of people love the New Mexico area, as they should. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And they said that Heron Lake was pinned to northern New Mexico, 7,000 feet up in the air, where it was whisper thin. So I like anything that has to do with being quiet, silent, anything like that, as leading to part of the poem. So
Right. There's something else in here that like I thought I saw and I read and I thought about. Um so when Brandon in this chapter, I mean, obviously they're going there as a family. It's something they do every year. They're having their big crawdad cook-off. So the boys are responsible for the crawdads, but they also have their poles like between rocks fishing while they're trying to create this sludge to collect crawdads, right? And I was thinking about how the saying is cast your pole. And it's like, is that a moment where it's like cast your pole? Is it into a lake? Is it into the river? What is this? Cast your pole? Just to remind you for all the times you've been fishing. It just seemed like an interesting like anomaly.
yeah, another thing too is people talk about, and I hear people mention all the time is as a fisherman, especially a fly fisherman, that it's not a pole; it's considered a rod, right? So it's interesting that he uses pole quite a bit. He uses pole in the poem, and you got fishermen everywhere going, "A pole, really, brah? Come on, get it right." So
So it's like the subtext again. There's a lot. I feel like right now we're in the middle of subtext land, right? All these
Yeah.
little things. And I think the play on words when the pole goes running or the rod goes flying. Holy mother of carp! When they see all the crawdads, it's like, oh my gosh, was that your swear word of your childhood?
Exactly. I was struggling to find for most of this chapter, though, with the exception of the North Star and one other thing, which I'm about to bring up, to have anything that has to do with like the poem or anything like that. So I thought it was interesting. He said the cliffs around them had ancient, which ancient is obviously in the poem, petroglyphs sharing rock space with Spanish land grant markers, which I thought is
Right.
interesting.
That is interesting. The other part that I loved is when he talks about how he and Brandon had spent years trying to concoct these crawdad traps, and they were always so overly complicated, right? And the answer was literally a bag of garbage. And so, again, when I feel like this file or this story is filled with so much subtext, right? Um, and I feel like the message is don't overcomplicate it. Don't make it so hard that it doesn't actually make sense. Or even if you do it really hard and you can make it make sense, ask yourself, is this something he would launch that way? You know, would he put this out there that difficult? Are you really grasping for something that's so deep and so hard to do?
I mean, it's hard. I understand people that want to do that because he's so smart. You think his answer would have to be so smart, right?
Right,
But sometimes we do just all overcomplicate it a little too much. I think
right.
the poem basically says don't do that. So, but here we go.
Wait, no,
Gracie's
let's say the
Grail.
most of we can't leave until we finish this last one. The last line of this story is huge. Sometimes you spend years engineering the perfect solution, only to find it floating in a sack of fish guts. And that says to me that this is going to be near water.
Interesting.
I
Like,
think it has to be. I think he's talking about it's sometimes you spend years. He says, I spent years thinking about what I would do about this, engineering the perfect solution, right? Only to find it floating in a sack of fish guts.
yeah, that's interesting. I didn't read it like that. That's a good way to read it. That although I guess you could do like a waterproof thing, but the water can go up and down and freeze.
Right. I'm
So,
not saying it's necessarily in water, but I think that it's going to be logical that it's near water.
mhm.
Um,
And
but
then that's
or
kind of the
again,
problem with the we have with the Pokemon box, right? Where if it is near water with all the flooding and stuff like that,
yeah,
that box is going to get either moved, floated. You know, that's the only problem with the have it being near water. Is just because of that, right? So if
right,
all of a sudden the water rises and floods, that's why the Pokemon box where they show the Pokemon box in TTI is because it's literally, if it was right there, that thing goes up 14 feet of flooding.
right.
You'll find picnic tables, you know,
Or at
up the
that one
hill.
on that one trail where I found like a washing machine or an oven, whatever it was.
Yeah. I mean, it's like
Like that doesn't belong here.
I just don't know if it's going to be too close to water. Although, I guess Forest Fens was pretty close to water. You know what I mean? So it's definitely possible. So
It's definitely possible.
yeah.
And that begs the question, hidden or is it buried? Because if it's buried, it doesn't matter how much water goes by. It just matters if the water goes down.
Yeah. Yeah. I
It's a
can't
lot.
imagine it being buried. How would you see it? I
Uh,
guess if you know,
I
it
mean, it
doesn't
needed
matter.
good
That's
blaze.
what he
It
says.
needed a good blaze.
All right, let's get to it because
Dude,
I
I know
love
you've
this
been
chapter.
dying to talk about
I've
Gracie's
been
Grail.
dying. You just put a video up, a short up on Gracie's Grail.
It's
We're
great.
finally
I'm really
going in because
excited.
we're
In fact,
back in
I'm gonna go
Dillon.
there. I'm gonna go there again on either Saturday or Sunday.
They won't
Probably.
be open again.
I meant to
It's
say Friday
okay.
or Saturday. I'm
They
gonna
won't
keep
be open.
checking. I'm gonna
I,
keep
I
checking.
someone told me June. They don't open until June. So we'll
Someone
see.
told you that?
Someone, not just me, they told you too. It was in one of our comments. They said, "Hey, pretty sure this doesn't open until June." Is like, what? June? Whoever
Oh,
runs Gracie's, this is a missed opportunity. You got so many
right,
treasure hunters that are all out there right now. They all want to go
right.
to your shop. They all want to see this shop. They all want to buy a little something. I'd buy something from there. Would you buy something from there?
I probably buy several things. You know me.
You would definitely buy several
I
things.
would think about this. My friend Courtney loves
Mm,
antiques. I
yeah.
would have to go grab her a couple things out of there. She would go. She wouldn't leave for hours. If I brought her to Gracie's Grail, she wouldn't leave for hours.
Yeah, it looks amazing from the outside. The yard, the video you got
Yeah.
looks awesome. I'm just hoping it's open because you know what I mean. We want it. Open it up.
Yeah,
So
right.
someone's working there. Be
Exactly.
like, you know what? Let's open up early.
And it
So
is now, so Gracie's Grail is the name of the chapter, but the store itself is called Gracie's New and Used. And it's
yeah,
cute and it's quaint. And there's like what's so crazy about the fact that it's not open is there's literally product all over the outside of that store.
yeah,
There's what looks like fresh writing on the chalkboards all around it. It's like, how did that make it through the winter? It's
yeah,
just crazy. But
yeah.
let's dive in. Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
Back in Dylan. Here we go. He
Yeah.
says progress crept in like water, finding cracks in an old foundation, starting with those three colors that are now conducted the rhythm of Montana Street. So that was definitely interesting. And then he says the rhythm of Montana Street, which you think that the first chapter could be on beyond music, the rhythm of it, right? The rhythm of
Right.
time,
For the
you
first,
know.
I think that the first like paragraph or stanza
Yeah.
is about that. I think it's about rhythm. I think rhythm is the key. So
Yeah. And then he says something that's really weird in this chapter. And I thought it was weird in this chapter. He says, the intersection marched forward in 3-minute intervals of red, yellow, and green that were
this
still
really
pocket.
upset you.
Well, I'll read the rest of it in a minute. What light are you ever going to wait for 3 minutes? I mean, that's not normal to wait at a light for 3 minutes. If you're sitting at a light for 3 minutes, someone needs to fix it. That just seems excessive. I don't know if I've ever waited at a light for 3 minutes that didn't have issues turning. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
weight of the car, like I was on a motorcycle or something like that.
Well, and when you're in Dillon and you're on Montana Street, there's like clearly like old Dillon where like the old shops are. There's some
Yeah,
great restaurants down there. Every restaurant, like I said, has a weird little casino in it, a little super secret casino where you can go in. But there's like a chiropractor there, and like there's a bunch of restaurants, a couple bars. But you can see that it's not as busy as you would think it would be, and maybe that is because it's winter. I'm not certain, but I just can't imagine that that town was ever so busy that it needed a 3 minute light.
3 minutes. So to me, he put that number 3 in there for a reason. I don't
Right,
know what the reason. If someone's trying to tell me, maybe because he says, at 3:20, but and there's your 3, you know,
right.
because that just seems like an excessive amount of time. A normal person would have just said 1 minute. That would have then people would have just glossed right over it. But 3 minutes, very excessive. So
Right. No, for sure.
the very rest of that sentence, by the way, is there were still pockets where time pooled and eddied like a mountain stream. So again, time, stream, all that is
Eddied,
in the
like eddied, that's such a weird
eddied.
word. It's such a
It is a
usual
very weird word. Yeah.
eddied,
It's
eddied. I'm not even sure we're saying that right.
I probably not, but somebody will correct me and I'm okay with that.
You'll get an
So
email about it and you'll deserve
no.
it.
I know, and I'm okay with that. So because I'm gonna butcher this whole entire thing. A lot of these things I won't butcher Conquistador like some people, but I will butcher other things.
I
So
will tell you this though, when he says it's like the Antique Roadshow, that's
mhm.
probably the most accurate description of this place I've ever heard.
Yeah, definitely. The other thing, a little thing I noticed because I just noticed it again about how I watched the movie The Gorge, and the last one said The Gorge, and this one now talks about the Valley of Vinyls, of
Right,
vintage vinyls, and I'm thinking, wow, there's another valley where basically you got rocks on both sides again, right? And
right.
so
When he
is
could
that a
have
little
just said
clue that I'm picking up
records.
on?
He could have just said records, and instead he says Valley of Vintage Vinyl.
Yeah, and he capital V'd it. So maybe that is just the title. It's 3 V's. The Valley of Vintage Vinyl, all 3 V's capitals. So maybe that's
Yeah.
the section. That's actually the title in the store. We don't know because we can't get in the store. So
I'm glad to like peek through the window, even though you said it won't be open till June.
you need to peek through that window for sure.
Right. But I mean, imagine how crazy that has to be the craziest like collection if it's still there.
Yeah, that would be insane.
You know. But also called like but it's interesting though the Tower of Pisa, like the ceramic Tower of Pisa, obviously that should be capitalized. But then the next sentence, and then there was what I called the forest of forgotten things.
That's
Like, why are
capitalized,
we
right?
capitalizing these things?
Maybe because he's titling them. He's saying
He
that's
is
one
titling,
section.
but he's also just talking about them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know. Honestly,
I
they
don't
could be
know. Where's
clues, right?
English majors?
It's
Should this need to be met? I need to know, English majors. Did that need to be capitalized? Is this a clue? It's a very interesting, it's a very interesting concept. We should be reading this as Valley of Vintage Vinyl, Forest of Forgotten Things.
well, it's also the mountains of mismatched China. That's also
Yeah.
capital. So clearly, he's capitalizing what he considers sections in the store. So the only thing I can think is inside the store is there's literally titled sections that are these actual titles. He's not making these up. I thought he was making them up.
I
But
thought he
he
was
must
making that,
not
but
be.
I'll look, and maybe that's something to know. But if not, that's something to look at.
Yeah.
Or again, English majors, let us know if that should be done like that. We're not very smart. We're just pretty.
Yeah. I also noted that he makes a comment about a raccoon, which is interesting.
Your favorite
because,
thing is the raccoon conversation.
well, he owned a pet raccoon apparently, but also it's a lot of the illustrations, a lot of the words in this. There's a whole chapter basically about raccoons. So that makes me think maybe the container, even though it's probably a bronze Tucker, could have something raccoon related. You could see maybe a little statue of a raccoon or something like that, because there's just so many illustrations of raccoons. There's so many information about raccoons for some reason. Weird obsession. If raccoons has nothing to do with this, little weird obsession.
Right.
So
also so then he finds this map, right? An old Apache match, a map of the Apache territories, spread in faded ink across paper of the Dragoon Mountains. But it's interesting that it's $6. Like, that's expensive for that time period.
It's really expensive considering it was hand drawn. It was like aged paper and forgotten summers, and someone had distilled time itself.
But he still thought, "Oh, this is a steal."
Yeah, he did think he was a steal.
Yeah,
which is
he
crazy.
thought it was a steal.
It was not. Well, if he would have found the treasure, it would have been. That was his thing.
Found the treasure.
Yeah. He does mention that Gracie, again, was his personal Narnia. This is another mention of Narnia. It's multiple. And as we know, Narnia, the time rate runs much faster in Narnia. For every year, there's 100 years and stuff like that. He keeps moving the clock. There's definitely time related. So anytime there's anything to do with time, I always stop, pause, try to see. And
like, what's he really
multiple Narnia times, it's funny because JCB's book mentions Narnia. This one's mentioned Narnia. You never hear people talk about Narnia anymore, but apparently it's very big in treasure hunts.
Right. Yeah, no, it's crazy how much Narnia comes into it. But I do think it's, again, a key is time. The fact that Narnia's time is so much faster.
Yes. He talks about that. Remember I said the Forest of Forgotten Things. It's where borders between then and now blurred and softened, which to me, again, he's talking about time, right? He's talking about past and future, or not future, current time, and it's blurring and softening, like almost like they're going together. So I thought that was interesting as well.
For sure. But I think your favorite part's what's coming.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I have a lot more on this chapter.
I was about to say you got. I think my favorite part's the very last line. So I'm waiting. Tell me what you got. I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Here's what I got. I'm just going to try to rifle through some of this. All right. It was among ancient display cases. So again, he mentions the word ancients in this chapter, that held Rocky Mountain beetles frozen in amber time. So again, he just mentions ancient time all over. I mean, this chapter is just filled with these words that it's basically, to me, saying, hey, look really harder at these chapters because they're more important. That's why I'm using so many of their words.
Right.
That's where you discovered the treasure in the shop, right? It was the hand drawn. It was nestled between two beetles, displayed like a secret slipped through time's finger. So again, talks about slipping through time. He said that when he went to buy, you're right. Is this what you're talking about? When he went to go buy, there was a customer negotiating which reached a crescendo, which is the music, right? Which music could have a part to do with it, rhythm and rhyme. But the customer clutches his watch as if it might spin backwards through time at his touch. And I'm like, wait a minute, spin backwards through time at his touch. Like when someone took the clock from 6:06 and spun it backwards to 4:03.
Exactly.
What?
That's why I knew this was your favorite part.
Saying?
I knew that would be your favorite part. This story is rich in time. It's rich in rhythm. It brings up the valley. There's a lot of multiple ideations of words like MMM, VVV, or VV, things like that. There's something here. Like as we're searching through it, and I do continue, this is one of the ones we're going to come back to again, because once we get through, we're going to start to break down a little bit further and be like, what do we miss? Because there's certainly things to miss, unless we grab a treasure this weekend. But like, am I that lucky? I don't know. But there's a lot in this chapter. And so what I'm saying is, as you read through the book, as you're told to do, there are certain chapters that have more weight than others. You need to go back and reread this and then reread it.
Exactly.
And then he runs into the door trying to leave because he feels like he stole the map.
Yeah, when he bought a 3-legged dog, which is interesting because a lot of people think in the video, when they're showing the background, when they're different, all the different timestamps, there's one smaller dog, and people go, "Is that the 3-legged
across from
dog?"
the urn?
Right.
Yeah.
Is that his 3-legged dog? Is that possibly what the treasure is hidden in? So it's interesting that he had that too.
Right. I love how this chapter, the story ends. The same force that filled Gracie's shelves is the same fever that keeps me hunting, this desperate belief that we can somehow catch time in a net of collected things.
Yes.
And really, her store is a collection of generations and decades. There's memories in that store that don't even know they're there. Like they don't even understand that the memories are there. But you walk in there and it's like with the one time we in North Carolina, we were at this antique shop, and I found a copy of that old cookbook, the Betty Crocker orange cookbook that Mom had when we were growing up. I found that book there. So I bought it immediately. I'm pretty sure I spent too much money on this old cookbook, but I bought it just because of the memory and that sensation that it brought me closer to Mom, because I would like flip through that. I mean, I don't even use recipes when I cook. I'm just one of those people who just makes my recipes up. But I used to flip through that and look at the pictures and think, I can make that. I can make that. And then I own one. And even now it's sitting in my kitchen. It's like part of my collection of all the cookbooks that I don't use. But that's the most important one to me.
No, I agree. And the best part is that you do that. You actually just look at a picture, or you dream about something, and then you wake up, you're like, that's for dinner tonight. I'm gonna make dream casserole. It's gonna be called. So
it's delicious.
Pretty amazing.
Every time I come home, people come over.
You are an amazing cook. So our Uncle Tim is like the barbecue master. You are an amazing cook. He makes a lot
of amazing food.
Yeah, see,
he really does. Like when Timmy cooks, I'm always in. I'm always in to eat, because first of all, you never know what kind of flavor profiles you're going to get on that, right?
Yeah.
And we are wildly off topic here. But what I love about Tim is Tim cooks to taste. He doesn't cook to like, oh, I followed this to a T. So when he's cooking for the flavors he's building on top of each other. And oh my gosh, they get you every time.
Oh, I cannot wait. I wish his Super Bowl parties are insane. So
yeah,
I actually need to get a hold of him. NFL draft's coming up. I haven't talked to him a bit because I've been so busy. But Timmy, if you're watching, I am going to give you a call. So, all right. Well, we need to wrap this up. We got a lot to go. And we got a lot to go. Watch our next video. We're going to give away 2 books in our very next video.
2 books. They won't go out until at least Monday, because I will be in Montana until Sunday.
We don't even know. Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
What we'll do probably is I'll drop that video Friday. We'll drop a video Friday maybe. So we'll have to make it at least Thursday or Friday, whenever you have time. And I will put it up at least by Friday at the latest. We will run the whole entire thing.
We've already got them.
We'll run the whole entire thing through Sunday, and that's how we'll do it. And basically Monday morning, I will do a drawing. I'll set a time to say this is the end time. I'll do a drawing. we'll pick out of the comments and we'll figure it out. But we'll give you more details next video.
Thanks so much for watching. We understand that without you, we wouldn't be doing this. We would probably be doing this, but nobody would be watching it but us and our mom. But
Yes.
we're so grateful you're here. We hope you found something interesting in this, and we'll get back to you on Friday with some additional deconstruction of the stories. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Treasure hunt with us, we gon' light it up. There's treasure inside, yeah, we rising up. If you're gonna treasure hunt, why not treasure hunt with us? We the ones, we the truth, yeah.